So much is happening in the news in Canada lately. You wake up, you think you're going to have just a regular casual news day, and no possible way in hell, man, can it top yesterday. But it just seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Welcome back to another video, everybody. We're not talking about Indian relations. We're not talking about the Million March. We're talking about a recap of Question Period. But if you want updates on those, then you should see the video prior to this one and the video later tonight. We're going to be taking a look at the recap of House of Commons Question Period and how there's kind of a really major talking point that was dropped today that's going over the heads of a lot of people. And I bet you mainstream media isn't even going to cover this. Pierre Poilievre actually divulges his climate action plan, right? So the Liberals have a climate tax in order to combat climate change, and Pierre Poilievre says what his plan is for climate change, and it's going to surprise you. It's really good. It's not anything woke. It's none of this crap. It's actually really, really good. So before we get into it, I want to encourage you to give a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and remind you that if you'd like a Freedom hat or Freedom merch, the link for that is down in the description below. Winter is coming, and the best way to offset home heating costs is to bundle up and get yourself a hoodie. Get you and your partner a hoodie. Why not? They're great. They look great. They feel really warm. So without further ado, let's get into this video here.
Speaker, at his recent retreat in Charlottetown, the Prime Minister said that life is really tough for politicians. It's off for another trip to New York for 3 days to give a couple of speeches and burn a whole lot of fuel. At the same time as he raises carbon taxes on
talking about climate,
the crime of driving to work and feeding their families. Yesterday, inflation was up and way up. It is accelerating. It is higher than in the States and in Japan, which could drive up interest rates. Will he balance the budget and axe the tax to bring inflation and interest rates down?
The Honourable Minister of Energy.
He's not messing around today, folks. They don't want him to get up and talk. They don't want Harry Potter. I love how the Liberals are trying to copy the Conservatives with their enthusiasm. I like it. I like it. I do.
Order. 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 There we go. Shh. Okay, I realize it's Wednesday and everybody's excited and the emotions are running high, but we have to get through question period. Let's calm down and hear the questions and the answers. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've been very clear that affordability is, of course, a top priority for this government. It is very clear that it is a huge concern on the minds of many, many, many Canadians. It is certainly, it has caused us to look at programs such as removing the GST from the construction of new rental units, provide money for home efficiency, the grocery rebate, and a range of other things. But I would say, Mr. Speaker, that it's also important that while we are addressing affordability, we do so in a manner that actually will allow us to also address the climate crisis. It is an existential threat to the future of our children. Shame on them for having no climate plan. On this side of the House, we can...
Oh, you're about to hear what the climate plan is.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, they're prepared to thunderously applaud anyone other than their own leader who stands. It's no wonder the Prime Minister says it's a really hard time to be a politician. And, right now, speaking of hard times,
oh my God,
he's off in New York for another 3 days, burning a lot of jet fuel while he applies a carbon tax that he wants to quadruple to 61 cents a litre on farmers, single parents, on struggling working class families who have to choose between eating and heating. Will the Prime Minister park the plane, end the high carbon hypocrisy, and axe the tax?
Pierre is not messing around. No, he is not.
Conservatives, our government actually has a plan to support Canadians during this time. We have, for example, the grocery rebate helping 11 million Canadians, Mr. Speaker, 4.2 million Canadians with the workers' benefit, over 6 million Canadians with indexing old age security. Mr. Speaker, what is their plan? That's right. They don't have one.
And you're about to hear what the plan is, ladies and gentlemen.
Our plan is to axe the tax and use technology, not taxes.
Whoa! Boom. There it is! First time ever, Pierre Poilievre says his plan for climate change.
High-flying, high-carbon hypocrite is jetting around the world.
Whoa!
Expense of Canadian taxpayers at the same time as he raises fuel taxes on everyday Canadians. The NDP supports him 100% in this 61 cent a litre carbon tax that they want to impose. That and the inflationary deficits have driven inflation back up. Will this government finally end the inflationary taxes and deficits so that we can bring down rates before Canadians go bankrupt?
This is phenomenal. This is the first time that Pierre Poilievre has ever really acknowledged what his plan is for combating climate change. Every single country has some sort of plan. Whether you agree with climate change or not, we're all shifting in a more technological standpoint for our economy. Pierre Poilievre is being very careful about the way he approaches this, and saying that they're going to use technology instead of taxes is phenomenal, because everyone is feeling the effects of the carbon tax. Even millionaires, even very wealthy people, the middle class, the top class, everyone is feeling the effects of the carbon tax. An extra 61 cents a liter for fuel is outrageous. It's an embarrassment. We, on a global scale, we have one of the highest tax brackets or taxes in the entire world, and our housing is just insane. And do you have gold bars in your backyard? Do apple trees somehow miraculously spit out golden apples? Do you take a crap and shit out gold bars? I sure don't. Money doesn't grow on trees for me. So I'm very confused as to why the cost of living is so outrageous in Canada, yet we're not all rich here. It's not like Dubai or whatever, right? Or Luxembourg. We don't all have castles. In fact, castles in Europe are actually cheaper than the average house in Kitchener, which you're going to see some liberal or some federal politicians mention that today. So great move by Pierre Poilievre to actually bring up some of his points, and it's phenomenal that it's happening not in front of Trudeau, because if Trudeau was here, he would have just been stuck in a perpetual state of ums and ahs. Anyways, let's continue the show. It gets better, folks. It gets better. You're gonna want to stick around for the full video. It gets better.
The Honourable Minister for Housing. Mr. Speaker, over nearly 2 decades in Canadian politics, he hasn't seen a program that helps Canadians he doesn't want to cut. Over the course of my time in this chamber, I've watched him attack the programs that support my constituents, programs like employment insurance, programs like the Canada Pension Plan. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue to put forward measures that are going to support Canadians during their time of need. He may dismiss them as big, fat government programs. I call them programs that put food on the table for families who live in my community.
Prime Minister admitted that he could have and should have done more to build affordable homes in Canada. Now the reality is we have a situation where we're losing more affordable homes than we are building as a nation. Now, what does the Prime Minister have to say to a renter who is living in a home that he can afford right now, but lives in fear that one day that home will be rent-evicted or dem-evicted and he'll lose it? What does a Prime Minister have to say to ensure that people will be able to stay in the homes that they can afford?
The Honourable Minister for Housing.
I like how Singh is going after Trudeau.
Concerned about making sure some of the most vulnerable Canadians have a safe and affordable.
But he needs to end the coalition.
That was in fact the motivation for the National Housing Strategy, where our government re-entered the social housing space after decades of governments, I should say, of different partisan stripes, vacated it. In reality, Mr. Speaker, we know that we need to do more. That is why we move forward with eliminating GST on apartments that are going to be rented to Canadians. Part of the solution to the housing crisis is to build more homes, and that is exactly what we're going to do.
8 years of this Prime Minister has punished Canadians with an NDP Liberal government who spent billions of dollars to double the price of a home, to double the rent, to double the mortgage payment, all because of their inflation.
Let's go, Melissa.
And they are building less homes this month than they did last month. Inflation is up, home building is down. So when will the Housing Minister stand up and admit that this Prime Minister is just not worth the cost?
The Honourable Minister for Housing.
Mr. Speaker, with enormous respect for my honourable colleague, when their party leader was the housing minister, he advanced a program with $300 million that he said would build 25,000 homes. fewer than 100 were built, Mr. Speaker. We have advanced programs that are going to build homes and that have been building homes. The reality is we know we need to do more. That's why we're eliminating the GST on apartments to be constructed. That's why we are advancing a plan to change the way that cities build home. It is working. We can't do it alone, but we will bring communities, we will bring provinces with us. It's the right path forward. I hope the Conservatives join us.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
The cost of a home has doubled in this country. The minister who made international students sleep on the
Hey, her hair looks pretty good today.
of 1 million people is now in charge of building homes in this country. How do you lose 1 million people? He's recycling broken campaign promises from 8 years ago that won't fix the fact that buying a castle in Europe is now cheaper than buying a family home in Kitchener. Are Canadians
Insane.
who broke immigration to fix housing
Woo!
over there to fix inflation?
Wow. For those who don't know, Sean Fraser was the immigration minister. And he gets very, very defensive about this comment. Good job, good job.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, I think it's very dangerous when any member of this House starts playing politics with immigration. With respect, if the Conservatives think...
Because he was the immigration minister. He was. And I'm having a conversation with myself. He's like, oh shit, you're mentioning my previous job. Yep. Don't do that.
The honourable minister.
You can talk about anything you want, but please don't mention the politicization of immigration. Buddy, it is politics. You're the freaking immigration minister. That's a political position. What do you mean? The entire country is being flooded with immigration. We have a surplus of people. We don't have enough buildings being constructed. Everyone knows that immigration is a massive issue here in Canada and a lot of places around the world because they have woke, radical, left-wing idiots running their countries as we do here. But who cares about other countries right now? Canada is partly a shit show because of our immigration. So yes, politicize immigration because that's what it is. It's political. You dummy. What a loser.
20 seconds.
What a loser is right.
Mr. Speaker,
Past tense, Mr. Sunshine.
newcomers is not breaking the immigration system, and we want to make sure communities are equipped to welcome them. We are not going to take lessons from the Conservatives who failed miserably when it came to housing by doing absolutely nothing. We have removed taxes on home construction. We are changing the way that cities build homes. We're going to build Canada, and we're going to advance the measures to make it happen.
The honourable member for Haldimand and Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, they lost track of 1 million people. After 8 years of this Prime Minister, housing prices are at a
bold choice to wear
high,
green.
and many Canadians have lost hope of ever owning their own home. This is a direct result of the NDP Liberal government's reckless deficit spending that has poured countless cash into the economy, driving up inflation, which has driven up interest rates, which has doubled mortgage rates. Will this Prime Minister finally stop his inflationary spending so that Canadians can once again keep a roof over their head?
Good job. Well said. Good job.
Mr. Speaker, I hope that this feigned compassion on behalf of the Conservatives isn't fooling Canadians, because on 2 occasions, Mr. Speaker, on 2 previous occasions, the Conservative
Who wore it better?
lowering taxes for the middle.
Who wore the green better? Let me know down in the chat.
Been crisscrossing
Conservatives or liberal?
over the course of the.
We got green versus green.
Not a single Canadian has told us that they would like us to cut our programs. Canadians are relying on the supports that our government is providing, and we are providing them in a fiscally responsible way.
The honourable member for Haldimand Norfolk.
Mr. Speaker, former Liberal Finance Minister John Manley said that the Liberal deficit spending is like pressing a gas pedal on inflation, while the Bank of Canada is trying to press the brakes on it by raising interest rates. 8 years ago, Canadians could afford to pay off their mortgage in 25 years. Now it takes 25 years just to save for a down payment.
Yeah.
When will this Prime Minister stop his reckless spending so that Canadians can once again afford to buy homes?
Wouldn't that be something, eh? Housing was actually affordable.
To the Deputy Prime Minister.
Once again, just a few weeks ago, rating agencies confirmed Canada's AAA credit rating. That is because what we are doing is...
Hey, you're not allowed to say that. That's a Freeland talking point.
So in a responsible way. Mr. Speaker, we have just announced the next step in our plan to build more homes faster. What we will do is create more apartment buildings for more Canadian families right across the country. The response from the Conservative leader was, we don't need any more of those. Mr. Speaker, Canadians do need their federal government, and this is the federal government that has their back.
What Canadians want right now is for inflation to come down and for interest rates to fall, not to pour fuel on the fire of inflation. That was what this finance minister promised last year. Instead, mortgage interest rates are up 31%. Inflation is up 4% this month alone. After 8 years, this Liberal NDP government refuses to be the financial stewards that this country so desperately needs. The Prime Minister is not worth the cost. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister finally stop his inflationary spending so Canadians can keep a roof over their head?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let's be specific about what they're talking about when they're talking about cuts. Because when they're talking about dealing with global inflation, they want to do it on the backs of the most vulnerable, as if cutting from the most vulnerable people in Canada is going to somehow fix global inflation. That means, as an example, at the dental care program that we're rolling out, 3.5 million seniors will lose their dental care. That means 181,000 people with disabilities will lose their dental care. That means 1 million children will lose their dental care. That's what they're talking about, Mr. Speaker. Let's be clear about what their real plan is.
I never noticed his really big bald spot on the back of his head. It's not a diss to bald people. I've never noticed it. I mean, it kind of just caught me off guard. Anyways, I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments of this question period. What do you think about Pierre's plan to trust technology instead of taxes to combat climate change? We'd really love to know what you guys think down below. Trudeau, of course, wasn't there. He is in New York for a climate summit, which is ironic since he took a jet there. So, yeah. Anyways. Very, very weird day. Lots going on. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe. Turn those post notifications on. There's going to be a lot of different updates. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone. I will see you on the next one. Bye for now. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you want to support the channel financially, you can do so by checking out the merch shop linked right up there. Or if you want to do something for free, which is also absolutely acceptable and highly encouraged, you can subscribe right there. If you want to continue watching videos like this, you can do so by clicking or tapping right there to watch the next upcoming video. And if you want to watch a little bit of different content, but also Canadian stuff, you can do so by clicking right up there. That's my second channel, House of Canada, also known as the House of Commons Highlights. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.